Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at something that I think a lot of you are going to find really valuable, and that's marketing that actually works.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about just getting a few more likes on your post or anything like that. I'm talking about really like crafting ads,
Yeah.
emails,
Yeah.
social media posts that really like hit your audience right where it hurts. In their pain points in a way that they just feel like you're reading their minds. Like, how did you know that about me?
Right.
So what's really fascinating is there's a method to this madness,
Hmm.
and it's called symptom to sale. And what we're going to be talking about in this deep dive is essentially the difference between, slapping a Band-Aid on a broken arm, which is what a lot of traditional marketing feels like, versus actually addressing the root cause of why somebody's not converting. Have you ever had that feeling where you see an ad pop up and you're like, whoa, are they spying on me? That's the kind of laser focus we're talking about with the symptom to sale method. So we're going to be exploring why most marketing falls flat and how this approach helps you stand out as the solution your ideal client is desperately searching for. But first, let's get real for a second. How many of you listening have poured time and money into marketing, only to see just dismal results? Maybe your conversion rate is stuck at like a measly 0.5% while your competitor is posting 3%. Or maybe you're sitting in your office at 7 p.m. dreading that conversation with your spouse about, unmet income goals.
Yeah.
That's the kind of pain that traditional marketing often ignores, that throws out these generic messages about
Yeah.
increasing conversions, getting more clients, but it fails to address the real life symptoms that your potential customers are experiencing every single day.
Right.
And when your message doesn't resonate with those very specific pain points, what happens? People scroll past, your ads, engagement plummets, and honestly, your confidence takes a hit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's the solution? That's where this symptom to sale method comes in. It's about ditching the vague promises and getting granular with the problems your audience is actually facing. So it's like this. There's this story about the guy who created this method. His name's Travis Sago.
Hmm.
And he was trying to sell advertising to restaurant owners. And he was leading with this very generic, like, do you want more customers? And everybody's like, yeah, of course I want more customers. But they weren't really biting.
Right.
And it wasn't until he started asking about specific symptoms that things really changed. You discover that, while those owners might not have been interested in more customers in general, they were very interested in solving the problem of an empty carryout counter during the lunch rush.
Mm.
And that's when the light bulb went off. He realized he wasn't selling them more customers. He was selling them a solution to a very specific, very real pain point.
Right.
And guess what? Those same restaurant owners who had previously said no to his advertising were suddenly chasing him down to help them solve that empty counter problem. Why? Because he was speaking their language. He was acknowledging a frustration they felt every single day.
Yeah, makes sense.
So it's powerful stuff. This symptom to sale method really flips the script on traditional marketing. It's not about manipulation. It's about truly understanding your audience and crafting messages that resonate on a deep emotional level.
I love that.
Now, how do you actually do that? Well, that's where the symptom to sale training comes in. It's broken down into 4 parts, each designed to help you transform your marketing from a guessing game into a system that actually gets you results. So part 1 is called the symptom double tap. And this is where you move beyond those generic problems, like I have trouble sleeping, to something way more specific, like I lie awake for hours staring at the ceiling worrying about tomorrow's presentation.
Oh, yeah.
That's the level of detail we're talking about.
Yeah.
And it makes all the difference. Part 2 dives into the core cause of all conversions. And this is where we explore the identity gap, which is the space between who your prospect is and who they want to be. We all have that ideal version of ourselves in our minds, right?
Absolutely.
And this part of the training teaches you how to tap into that deep-seated desire to create truly persuasive marketing. Then we move on to part 3, understanding the buying cycle. This is where you learn to separate the window shoppers from the serious buyers, so you know how to spot those who are ready to take action now. These are the people who have recognized their problem. They've tried to solve it on their own, and they are desperately seeking a solution. And that's where you come in with your perfectly crafted, symptom-focused offer.
I like.
And finally, part 4 is all about where to start and implementation. This is where the rubber meets the road, showing you how to put everything you've learned into practice. You'll learn how to craft compelling ads, write irresistible email subject lines, and create social media posts that stop people in their tracks, positioning your offer as the clear path forward. Now, just a little transparency note here. The Symptom to Sale training is all about actionable content. It's delivered through straight-to-the-point audio recordings. No fluff, no filler, just pure information you can implement right away. And I know some of you might be thinking, okay, this sounds great, but what if it doesn't work for me? Well, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it risk-free. They stand behind this method wholeheartedly because they've seen it work time and time again. But before we dive deeper into those 4 parts of the training, I want to pause here and ask you a question. What's one specific symptom you see your audience struggling with every single day? Think about it. What are they seeing, feeling, experiencing that keeps them up at night? Hold on to that thought as we continue exploring this symptom to sale method.
Yeah, that's a great question. Really think about it. What are those things that are really bugging your audience? What are they complaining about? What are they searching for online? Once you know that, you can start tailoring your marketing messages to directly address those specific pain points.
Exactly. It's all about getting inside their heads and understanding their struggles on a deep level. And that's what this symptom to sale method is all about. So stay tuned as we continue our deep dive, and we'll unpack each of these 4 parts in more detail. We'll give you specific examples and actionable strategies that you can use to start seeing real results in your marketing and ultimately help you achieve your business goals. So stick with us.
We'll be right back after a quick break.
Okay, so I'm really curious to unpack these 4 parts of the symptom to sale training even further. Yeah, it's one thing to talk about the theory, but I really want to kind of get into like the nitty-gritty of how this actually works in practice.
Yeah, for sure.
So what's so interesting about this approach is it really flips the traditional marketing script on its head, right?
Yeah.
Instead of starting with like this broad problem, we're laser focusing on these tiny nagging symptoms that our audience is experiencing every day. So it's the difference between asking like, are you struggling with weight loss? Versus saying like, do you ever feel like you have to rearrange your belly 3 different ways just to zip up your favorite jeans?
Oh my gosh, yes.
That second one paints a much more vivid picture, right?
Absolutely.
It speaks directly to like the emotion, the frustration. And when you can articulate those feelings in your marketing, it creates a sense of understanding and connection. It's like you're saying, hey, I get it. I've been there too.
It shows empathy.
Exactly.
Oh.
And that sense of connection is what builds trust. And ultimately, that's what leads to conversions.
Yeah.
People are more likely to buy from someone who understands their struggle.
Yeah, you feel seen.
Yeah, exactly. Now, once you've nailed those specific symptoms, it's time to dig even deeper into the psychology of the buyer. This is where part 2 of the training comes in, the core cause of all conversions. And this is where we explore the identity gap, that space between who someone is and who they long to be.
Right, that ideal self.
Yeah, and this is where things get really fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Because we all have that ideal version of ourselves in our minds, right?
Absolutely.
And we're constantly seeking ways to bridge that gap, whether it's through the clothes we wear, the cars we drive, the products we buy. We're always looking for something that will help us become that best version of ourselves.
100%.
And that's the real magic of this symptom to sale method. When you
Yeah.
can tap into that desire, that longing to become that person, your marketing becomes incredibly powerful. You're not just selling a product or service, you're selling a transformation. You're offering a path to becoming that ideal self.
It's aspirational.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, of course, not everyone who sees your message is going to be ready to buy right away.
Yeah.
That's why part 3 of the training understanding the buying cycle is so crucial. This is where we learn to separate the window shoppers from the serious buyers. So imagine this. You're walking through a shopping mall, right? And you see a store with this beautiful display of shoes. You might glance in the window, admire the styles, but you keep on walking. You're not ready to buy.
Right.
But what if you've been having terrible foot pain lately? And you've tried like every insole and orthotic under the sun. Suddenly that shoe store becomes a lot more interesting. You're actively seeking a solution to your problem.
You're motivated.
Exactly. That's the difference between someone who's casually browsing and someone who's buying cycle wares. They've recognized their problem, they've tried to solve it on their own, and now they're actively seeking a solution. These are the people you want to target with your marketing. And that's where you come in with your perfectly crafted, symptom-focused offer. You're not just another shoe store. You're the solution to their foot pain. You understand their struggle, and you have the answer they've been searching for.
You're speaking their language.
Exactly. So now, finally, part 4 of the training is where we put everything together. Where to start and implementation. And this takes all the theory that we've covered and shows you how to actually translate it into real-world marketing campaigns.
I love it.
So we'll dive into crafting compelling ads that speak directly to those specific symptoms. We'll learn how to write email subject lines that are so irresistible people can't help but click. And we'll explore how to create social media posts that stop people mid-scroll because they feel like you're speaking directly to them.
Right, like you're in your head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about positioning your offer as the solution, as the way out of their current situation.
The answer to their prayers.
Exactly. So just remember, this entire training is designed to be actionable and easy to digest. It's delivered through straight-to-the-point audio recordings, no fluff, no filler, just pure information that you can implement in your business right away.
That's what I like to hear.
And if for any reason you're not satisfied, there's that 30-day money-back guarantee. They really believe in this method, and they've seen it work time and time again.
I mean, that says a lot right there.
Right. So now I want to kind of circle back to something we talked about earlier, this idea of the identity gap. It's such a powerful concept.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious to kind of hear a little bit more about how it plays out in like real-world marketing scenarios.
Yeah, so, all comes down to understanding the aspirations of your target audience. What do they dream of achieving? Who do they yearn to become?
Right, like their deepest desires.
Exactly.
Right.
And once you have a handle on those aspirations, you can start crafting messaging that positions your product or service as a way to help them achieve those goals.
Oh, I see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Right. So it's not just about solving their immediate problem. It's about helping them become the person they want to be.
Right. It's about tapping into that deeper level of motivation.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
so can you give me like a specific example?
Sure. So let's say you're selling a fitness program. Instead of focusing on the generic problem of being overweight, you might tap into the desire to feel confident and attractive in a swimsuit.
I see.
So instead of a tagline like, lose weight fast, you might say something like, get ready to rock that bikini with confidence this summer.
Oh, that's so much better.
right.
It's aspirational. It's emotional.
Exactly.
And it speaks to that identity gap, that desire to be the best version of themselves.
100%.
So powerful.
Yeah, it's really about understanding the psychology of your audience and crafting messages that speak to their deepest desires.
I love it. It's amazing how much more effective marketing can be when you shift your focus from selling features to selling transformations. Like, it's not just about what your product does. It's about how it helps your customer become the person they aspire to be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about tapping into those deep-seated desires and positioning your offer as that bridge between where they are and where they want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I know we've covered a lot of ground here, but before we wrap up, I want to touch on some common pitfalls that people encounter when they're actually trying to apply the symptom to sale method. So, like, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people making?
Well, I think one of the most common mistakes is not getting specific enough with the symptoms. Remember, we're not talking about like these broad general problems here. We're talking about those really granular everyday experiences that are causing your audience real frustration.
Right. So instead of saying, like, are you feeling stressed? You'd say something like, do you find yourself snapping at your kids more often because you're so overwhelmed with work?
Exactly. The more specific you can be, the more your message is going to resonate with your audience because they're going to feel like you truly understand their struggles.
Yeah, like you're speaking directly to their experience.
Exactly.
Okay, so what are some other mistakes that people should be aware of?
Another common mistake is not fully understanding the identity gap of their target audience. It's not enough to just know that someone wants to lose weight, for example. You need to understand why they want to lose weight.
Right.
Is it to feel more confident in their clothes? Is it to improve their health and energy levels? Is it to be able to keep up with their kids?
I see. So it's like getting to the root of their motivation.
Exactly. The more you understand the why behind the symptom, the more effectively you can position your offer as the solution that they've been searching for.
That makes perfect sense. Any other pitfalls that we should watch out for?
Yeah, a lot of people also fall into the trap of focusing too much on the features of their product or service rather than the benefits.
So what do you mean by that?
Well, instead of just listing what your product does, you need to explain how it will actually improve the lives of your customers. How will it solve their specific problem and help them achieve that desired outcome?
So it's like instead of saying, our software has X, Y, and Z features, you might say something like, our software will help you save time, reduce stress, and increase productivity, so you can finally leave the office at a reasonable hour and enjoy more quality time with your family.
Precisely, people don't buy features, they buy benefits. They buy solutions to their problems and pathways to a better version of themselves.
I love that. This has been so insightful. I feel like I'm already starting to see my own marketing through a new lens.
That's fantastic to hear. It's all about shifting your perspective and understanding that. Marketing isn't about manipulation, it's about genuinely helping people. It's about connecting with them on a deep emotional level and offering solutions that truly make their lives better.
Couldn't agree more. And you know, if you're listening to this and you're ready to take that leap and really transform your marketing, I highly recommend checking out the Symptom to Sale training. It's a really practical step-by-step process that will equip you with everything you need to start seeing real results. You can find a link to learn more in the description of this episode. And now, before we sign off, I want to leave you with this thought. Think back to the last time you felt truly compelled to buy something. What was it about the marketing message that hooked you? Chances are it tapped into a very specific symptom that you were experiencing, a pain point that felt really real and immediate. Keep that in mind as you craft your own marketing messages. The more you can connect with your audience on that deeper level, the more successful you'll be. And that wraps up our deep dive into the Symptom to Sale method. We hope you found this exploration insightful and that you'll walk away with a fresh perspective on how to create marketing that truly resonates with your audience. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep those conversions coming.